Hi, Megan.
Hello.
There we go. Okay. Live.
Are we live? Okay, great. This is my first time chairing, so what do I say? Just the time and that we're starting?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, great. So we are ready to start the meeting at 6:37, and we'll start with the adoption of the agenda.
I move that we adopt the agenda.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. So moving on to oral communications. We don't have any participants unless Sophia wants to say something about the Habitat Restoration Day. Did you enjoy it? Great. Good. So you'll come again next time. Okay.
Actually, I have two things that are oral communications, not committee things. But one is to remind the public to come on July 8th for the Star City Music Festival. It is, I've personally heard several of the bands that are going to be playing because I've gone to a music festival that was also organized by Jimmy Leslie, who's the promoter of the show. And it's going to be amazing. Some of those bands are incredible. And it is, some of the proceeds are going to benefit San Bruno Mountain Watch. And so it's a good time to reach out to all of your friends from other areas and invite them to come, because it really is going to be a very special event. And it really needs our whole support to be a successful event for the city of Brisbane and for but not only the community, but for all of those that are involved. My second announcement is that our Mountain Watch, San Bruno Mountain Watch, is planning an event, I think tentatively the 9th of September. It's going to be an evening event this time. So mark it on your calendar now, and it's going to be a fundraiser, and it should be interesting. We're kind of firming up plans for that.
Where is it going to be?
Hopefully at the Mission Blue Center.
All right. And what was the date again?
9/9, 9/9/17.
Cool.
So that's it.
Great. Thank you, Michelle. So moving on to the next agenda item, which is approval of the minutes. Does anyone have any comments?
I abstained since I wasn't here at the last meeting.
I looked them over and they look fine to me, so I move to approve.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
So one abstain. Great. Subcommittee list for reports, subcommittee reports. So we have in front of us the list of the subcommittee members.
Can I make a comment before we get to that? It's sort of subcommittee thing. I don't see it on the list, but the Habitat Restoration Days. Is it?
Uh-huh.
Oh, there it is. Okay, good. I'll wait till then. I missed it because there wasn't a space in between.
If we want to go in order, I can guide you a little bit, and then the committee members that have updates can provide them. The Brisbane Acres Preservation concerns, that was brought up either at the last meeting or before, and the city attorney is going to double back, but we had the discussion with the city attorney last July, and he said his recollection was that the council had been updated. So at this point, he's going to confirm that, but at this point they don't feel that they need to take action. Actually, now I think I kind of remember that it did happen at a council meeting. So I think maybe it was Barbara Ebel that asked for an update. So I'll circle back in terms of when and how the council was updated.
Okay. I think that there are still some concerns with Mountain Watch, but I'm not sure exactly what they are, so I'll try to find out.
Okay. The climate action plan, the subcommittee did, I asked to postpone the last meeting, so we're meeting in early June.
Have you heard from Barbara about whether the 8th is going to work for her? I said it would work for me. That was the date that you proposed. It's a week from tomorrow.
2 weeks from tomorrow.
Right. Sorry.
I'm not sure right now, but I was assuming we were going to meet, but I don't know if she answered or not, actually.
Let me just say that
I think she did.
I may not be available later in June for a meeting, so I'm kind of anxious to meet before I become unavailable.
Yeah, she did say, let's go ahead and reschedule on that same day.
Yeah, I saw that, but did she say on that same day? On the
No, I mean,
8th?
Yeah, I'll confirm that she
Okay.
can meet on the 8th.
I'm still working on slides, so I should have a lot more slides by the time of the meeting.
Okay, yeah, that's great. Day in the park. Oh,
Just on that, I'd like to mention to the committee that you've probably read something about this, but the president's proposed federal budget was just released this week. And in it, he proposes a lot of cuts to agencies that don't get a lot of attention, but are really important to cities and to states to implement their climate action plans. So Energy Star is one of the programs that's supposed to get the axe, which is it's a rating system basically. And there's another one called the Building Technology Office that is due to be slashed as well. And this Building Technology Office helps people improve the efficiency of their buildings. So I asked Karen if Brisbane was signed on to any national effort among cities to resist these cuts, and she said, I guess Lori is signed on to the mayor's climate commitment, but do you know anything else about that?
yeah, so Lori is signed on to that, and that was a letter that was sent to the president. So far, I was able to check with the League of Cities, the California League of Cities, and they're not taking a position because they deal with state-level legislature. So there's a public affairs manager for San Mateo County, and that's who I was in contact with, and he said he could make a contact to Washington, D.C. and see if the National League of Cities was, and he expected that they would be doing something, but he didn't have...
Yeah, it's kind of early days yet, but
Right.
it seemed right to try to mobilize right now, because not only is it just a bad thing, but it's really, thinking about our climate action plan, rating systems that tell you about energy efficiency are really important. How do
Yeah.
you do a purchasing plan without that kind of thing?
Yeah. If any of those programs went away, that'd be detriment.
Thank you.
So we'll both keep a tickler on that and follow it.
Okay.
Next one is Day in the Park, so maybe we're getting to the time to start
About time.
bouncing around ideas, or...
Time.
Right.
Yeah.
Get thinking about it. What was the date again? Is it October we moved it to? Or
Now it's back,
Is it still the last Saturday in September? Or is it first week in October?
I
this-
asked, and now I think it's the last weekend in September.
For some reason I was thinking.
Well, that's what it was last year.
Traditionally, for decades, it was the first Saturday in October, but last year it wasn't
Because of
Right.
the
It was
because of the
later.
party.
because of the party.
That's
yes.
but that's the only reason. So I don't see any reason they wouldn't go back to what they did for decades.
Saturday, the 30th.
Or it would be Saturday the 7th. Right, depending on whether it's the last or the
Yeah.
first. Or they'll split the difference, saying
We'll have it on a Wednesday?
what?
That would be the splitting the difference.
No, Saturday the 30th is almost like the first Saturday in October.
Almost,
Almost.
almost. So do we know? We don't know.
One idea for Day in the Park I had when I was doing a cross connection survey. I went to that Monday Motorbikes, and they have the electric bicycles. I don't know, and that the guy that owns that's in Brisbane. It's all assembled and manufactured here. So he was pretty excited. He said he would any ideas we had for outreach, he would be open to something like that. So
What a wonderful idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
so that seemed like a local business and
Yeah.
really green. So that's Monday and Motorbike Company is the name of their.
What's the first name?
It's Monday and Motorbike Company. I'll email out. It's an interesting name, and I think they had another name before, and they recently switched names. But they've got a lot of press recently. GQ magazine, and if you look on this webpage, lots of national press.
That would be great. Could you send the link to us so that we have the link?
Yeah, I'll do that.
How do you spell Monday? Is it Munday?
No, no,
or
it's-
Monday?
I'll send it out. I don't want to get it wrong.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, that's a great.
They're just kind of, they're on the tech park, and you can't really tell they're there, but I think they're moving forward pretty fast in that.
Is that Automotors? That are
No, there's two in Brisbane.
Okay.
Who knew?
Oh, I didn't realize
great.
that.
Yeah, Alta Motors is motorcycles, and these guys are electric bicycles.
Oh,
So it's, I think, anyway, I'll get the information. But
Brisbane is the two-wheeled electric vehicle capital of the world.
Yeah.
didn't
Well, I mean,
realize
in terms
that.
of subcommittee reports, I think that we haven't done anything yet. I think we should have a meeting, and I don't necessarily think we need to discuss Day in the Park
Until,
during the list of subcommittee reports,
at this point.
unless we want to agendize it and talk about it later, but we should go through this whole list. Well,
Yeah, we should agendize it for next meeting, I think. But one thing I want us to make sure that we've given feedback to the organizing committee that the setup last year was just dreadful for the way that it was, and it would have been even worse if we'd been on the sunny side of that lineup of booths. It was just really hard to participate. I felt like I went to day next to the park instead of day in the park.
Oh, that's right. It was out in the street, wasn't it?
Yeah, because we
Yeah,
didn't
it's
really
awful.
get involved in what
I
was
think they
going on
should
in
build. We should have little temporary stairways that cross over that fence. You'd only.
I don't think it should be set up like that. It was
Well,
really
there's
unpleasant
that,
to
too.
stand on the street for 8 hours.
Ooh, yeah.
It just,
Why
I
was
could hardly
that?
walk afterwards.
Why did they do it like
People can walk.
They wanted to do something different because it was the 30th anniversary, and so we didn't get to really participate in Day in the Park because we weren't in the park and didn't see all the activities. We were set aside as some kind of,
I think it was also what was it after that? What was that event that they had that was in the street?
The pop-up,
The
it was
pop-up.
after that pop.
Right, and they like
Park
that,
Place
and
pop-up.
frankly, every year we complain about how wet the field is. So at least this
So-
year we weren't complaining about how wet the field was.
I'd rather stand in the mud than stand on the concrete, but they just, don't need to water the lawn the day
a couple days
before.
I know, but it seems like every year they somehow forget. So.
Yeah. Okay.
It sounds like that committee, or it looks like that committee is meeting, subcommittee is meeting June 7th June
Oh.
7th. So maybe they haven't selected a date yet. They haven't announced it, so this is probably when they're going to select the date, and we'll give them the feedback
Okay.
that you've given us.
Yeah. Well, then let's agendize it for next meeting, and we'll talk about it. And yeah, maybe you and I have a little walk and talk. That's
Go
great
for a hike.
meeting. Yeah.
All right, sounds
Have our
good.
subcommittee meetings on San Bruno Mountain.
Yeah.
Okay. You do? I love it.
We did
Yeah.
hike up the mountain on our meeting.
Yeah, on one of the trails.
Sweet.
Yeah, it was great. It's a great meeting. Best subcommittee meeting ever.
I believe it.
Great.
Okay, so education and outreach doesn't have anything happening right now. We're keeping it on the list, though. Environmentally preferred purchasing and staff training was what Glenn was referring to, and is kind of folded in with climate action plan, being that it's the same members on that subcommittee and kind of the same goals. Festival tree replacement options. Megan, do you want to do that update?
Sure, yeah. Michael and I and Karen, we met with Parks and Rec May 3rd and got together. And the biggest conversation, it looks like it's going to be the same tree because we've really decided from everybody we've talked to, it's still the same type of tree.
But that was the problem.
No, the problem was how the tree was put in the ground and it wasn't built up. You have to build the soil up. Wasn't that what they said, Karen?
Yeah, and they're coming up with a deodar cedar being
The best. I mean, from every single
Oh.
person. I know. I already told them our
Sure.
plan and what we were doing, but that was it. But it was
I'm-
how it was sunk into the ground. The biggest discussion that we had was the location of the tree.
Okay.
It's failed on one side, as you guys know. It's wind
Share.
impacted.
And Deodora cedars, if you go and look at them around town, many of them have wind shear. They do not hold up well, and we're going to have exactly the same problem if we choose the same species of tree. Not
And then we need
recommended. Sorry.
more input because that's two arborists recommending it. And
Yeah. That
Two arborists that live here and know the conditions and went around and looked at all the trees.
was one of the
Yeah.
guys. And I don't know who they were because I know Mike knew one of them. I don't remember who he had talked to, but I think Sean was one of them.
Was Sean at that meeting?
He was not at the meeting, but Mike talked to him. And Sean didn't want to be involved, but he just said he'll give him 5 minutes of his time.
Well, he didn't recommend going with the same tree when we talked, when he was on the committee. So I just hate to see us go down that path and put the same kind of tree in with the same problems that'll occur. That's craziness.
Has anybody gone out in the park and maybe measured to see where the wind is bad? Because maybe the place where the tree is planted, it's particularly bad because of wind around buildings or something like that.
I think
You're
that,
suggesting some areas are not windy?
Well, I'm suggesting some areas may be worse because buildings really do
Yeah.
affect the way the wind blows and how strong it is, and it could even speed it up if the air is going around a corner. The wind will be faster because of that. So I don't know. Maybe somebody could look into that. Maybe there's a place to put it where it would be a little bit more sheltered and would last longer.
So a couple things that this subcommittee looked at, and going back, Davy Tree was the other one who gave input and trims a lot of our trees in town, that pretty much everything that Tim Chang doesn't do. They recommended a redwood. Nobody wanted that. That's a tree that will survive.
And it'll be 100 feet tall.
that was the thing. In 10 years, that's what we were
I mean,
talking
look
about.
at, we already have a huge problem with the redwoods that are at where the library is.
Well, next to a building.
Well, and those grew really, they did not exist in 1980. They weren't there.
That being said, there aren't a lot of places in the park that are available for a tree, so we looked at a couple of sites, and that's what the next step for staff to do, me particularly, is to, to do a matrix of the pluses and minuses of each site. And one was, as you guys suggested, south and east of the tree, so it's blocked from the wind, the existing festival tree. And the other location was near the signboard, because that's kind of an unused space in the park.
That whole space would be right behind the gazebo, that corner.
Between the gazebo and the fence?
We're just concerned
gazebo,
about
yes.
driving and people not being able to see and when it grows up.
Yeah.
so
Yeah, because we
Yeah.
talked
That'll
about
be a view blocker
that's
too.
where one of the
ideas had been suggested a long time ago about the little quarry park at the bottom of Quarry Road, but the committee, everyone on the committee wanted it to be visible when you're driving through and when you're...
Yeah.
Because you want to see it when you come into town.
Yeah.
And where it
Yeah.
is like nice, but we are going to look to see how bad it would be when you are driving around that corner, if it is going to be. Because I think it would be really beautiful with the gazebo. I mean, you'd feel like when you're doing your festival, the gazebo, we can use the gazebo as part of the festival activities when we do the tree lighting ceremony and whatnot. So that's what the committee had talked about.
The only
Those
problem
two
with that is
suggestions.
if, this is big if, but if they decide to reconfigure the roadway and the entrance to Brisbane and all
That
the
could
other,
change.
then, and here the tree would be there, and then we'd have the same
Oh, we got a new
issue
tree.
again.
Sure.
That would be part of the plan.
Build it into the
Master
cost
plan.
of the new roadway.
Yeah, but then you have to wait for it to grow up again.
Well,
Was
by the time we get
there
this
was
tree in
there
I think the roadway will
consideration
be done.
to move the road? Because I thought with the pop-up they had marked out bike lanes as if Old
Who-
County stayed.
Who the heck knows? You know,
Yeah, I thought it was, that we didn't think that was going to be an issue, but, so we're still looking at this, the location of the tree and still kind of the,
what?
what tree.
Yeah.
But I knew you were going to have some
Oh,
feedback.
God. It's like,
But-
what's the definition of insanity?
But the interim plan, Megan, do you want to update on that?
The interim plan on the tree?
Yeah, the existing tree.
Oh, on the existing tree. What we're going to do is go in and have it cut so it looks more like a Christmas tree. So we're going to have the guys come in, I was going to do Tim or Dave, and have them take off the pieces and make it at least more symmetrical.
Give it a
And
haircut.
a little more background is that Tim Chang, when we talked about what type of tree to place and where and asked for his input, he requested that he be able to trim the tree. And he said, you know, he's the one that puts up the lights every year, and he's invested as much as everyone else. And he said he can shape it and take out some of the dead branches and shape it more like a Christmas tree and make it look a lot better. And he's given us a proposal, and he's going to do that in a couple of weeks.
Okay.
Great.
So at least
So
we'll
that's
have
kind
that
of
to start.
Short-term kind of improvement, moving us along.
To look at this.
Okay. Very good.
So that's where we are on that.
Great job.
Habitat Restoration Days. First of all, I wish there was like everybody in town listening when I thank both of you, Karen and Bob, for coming and actually doing the work, working with us. And I think that that really meant a lot, I think, to everybody, and certainly to me, that you came out and actually worked pulling, invasives. Poor Karen, she's like, we're going to pull all these little ones? I said, if we pull them now while they're little, they won't get big. And Karen herself probably pulled 200 or 300 sprouts that were like this big. And the ground was so soft you could just pull them. And I'm like, if we don't pull them now, in 2 years from now, they're going to look like that. And it was just amazing. Because, that's really the hero's work. It's one thing to feel really good when you pull out a big one. But when you sit there and have to pull out every last one of these little ones, but it makes a huge difference. And the turnout for Habitat Restoration Day was really gratifying. We had, how many people did we have ultimately?
I think the count was about 40, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. And also kudos to San Bruno Mountain Watch, in particular, our stewardship and program director, Ariel Cherbowski. He did a wonderful job guiding everybody and also telling the story of why we were doing what we were doing and what the valley used to look like. So that was really awesome. And it was such a great experience. Everybody can come back out in June. June, is it 24th?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
For Habitat Restoration Day summer solstice. And we're going to be doing Costañas Canyon and clean up the canyon. That's been a multi-year project that has been really beneficial to the canyon. It's almost completely eradicated has saved major trees in that canyon that would be gone now had they continued to have the ivy growing up at the rate that they did. Mm-hmm. And even some of the neighbors have gotten involved and cleaned the ivy off of their own properties to keep it from leaching back into the canyon. So please, everyone, come on the 24th of June. It'll be a really great day. We're starting at a more reasonable hour, I believe 10 o'clock instead of 9 o'clock. Comes with lunch and a beautiful T-shirt with a banana slug on it. Mm-hmm. And I just hope people really come and participate because many hands make light work, and it's very gratifying work.
Is it going to be promoted in the Brisbane newspapers or? Yeah.
Yeah, I think another flyer was just made, so I think it's due to be in the Star. Okay. June. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Good.
Yeah.
Can we incentivize our group here at City Hall to get involved?
Yeah, you guys set a beautiful example. Let's get some more employees out there on the ground.
What incentive are you suggesting?
I don't know.
Kisses and hugs? I don't know.
Yeah, the warm, fuzzy feeling of coming to Habitat Restoration Day.
Your picture on Residents of Brisbane?
And a T-shirt.
And a T-shirt and a sandwich.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a pretty big incentive.
And
plus, it really is a fun day. So hopefully you guys are talking up because I love doing them. I was really bummed when I missed it. I just think it's fun. I love getting out and working with my hands and working with the team. And
it's really fun to see people inspired and to take ownership of it and really say, this is my environment.
You do take ownership.
And we care. And it's just really wonderful. And the canyon habitat is unique to us. And the Costañas Canyon was a home to the Ohlone Indians. I mean, the property adjacent to it is a shell mound. I'll bet it's a destroyed shell mound, but it is a shell mound. And so it's a really historical, important place and a biologically important place. So, and Kim, it was so great to see you and your daughter out there.
I love coming. Yeah, we'll be there we got 2 birthdays that weekend, one of which is Sophia's, but we'll be there for the first part of Habitat Restoration.
Well, remind us and we'll sing happy birthday.
Bring all the little ones out with her.
Yeah, because she's a good worker.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
You can have your birthday party there.
Yeah,
Let's start your party.
Yeah, that's a good way.
Habitat Days, except that I also hope we have high participation for coastal cleanup as well.
it's not habitat. Well, it used to be habitat. It's probably past being habitat now, but a lot of trees have died over the last couple of years on Quarry Road, and the whole place is really kind of a mess. And I was thinking, if the dead trees are removed and some of the big branches are trimmed, we could plant some new native trees there, like oaks. David Schooley planted some, but only at the entrance to Quarry Road. But we could plant oaks and buckeyes to replace those Monterey pines.
That would be awesome.
It would look a lot nicer than it does now, and it would be a better entrance to the park. So I don't know if the city has money to do that, but just a
Are you
suggestion.
talking the Monterey pines that are like near the school,
No, I'm talking about the Monterey pines along Quarry Road.
which are on school property?
No, they go all the way along Quarry Road. There's Monterey pines. There's acacia. There's some willow, and a lot of it's dead.
Yeah.
It's killed either by ivy or drought and flood or who knows what. But it would be nice to get that stuff removed and sort of get it cleaned up with heavy equipment, and then plant some new things. Just a thought.
Yeah.
It might be something that with an operating budget could be tackled a little bit at a time, because
Yeah.
the scale is big to do it all at once, but there is some money, as each year street trees are managed, if there's extra funding, we could focus it there, because I don't know with as robust as the urban forest generally is in Brisbane that we are just going out and planting any particular place unless a tree dies and is removed, so.
Well, I know a couple have been removed from along Quarry Road because I turned in reports, and then
Yeah,
I went
I'm
out there
saying
again. They were gone.
I don't think there's any active plan to plant trees, but that could be something that we could be thinking more about. And
We could even plant them from seed. I mean, buckeyes grow so fast. If we just could clear it out in there so that they would have a chance, it would be great. And that could be done with equipment. I mean, you don't need to be delicate there because it's almost all invasive species anyway.
In the first part of Quarry Road, yeah.
Yeah.
Some of the Monterey pine trees, though, do belong to the school and were planted by the school as you get closer to the school.
So I know there's a whole row of them right up along the driveway by the school, but are you talking about downhill too?
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, as they've been reported from the committee, we're definitely looking at property boundaries before we cut them all.
Yeah.
And we've notified the school if they have dead ones.
They're going to lose all of them. It's starting to become a danger.
Yeah, they've taken several out already
Yeah.
that are kind of at the top of the hill and right next to the school. A lot of those are gone. They've taken
Yeah,
them out
as
a
you
lot.
guys recall, we put a process in place. It was starting to roll out before I got involved, but we have a letter and an imminent hazard, and here's your tree, and the permit is, and here's how you can get it removed. And it's been the committee telling us a lot of those particular trees.
Yeah.
So
I'm sure that San Bernardino Mountain Watch would be happy to, grow some trees for the city.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For a small fee. It really is a good bargain.
Yeah,
Oh.
really good. Bargain.
But it takes a while to grow, good transplantable trees, so be a good time to start.
Great. Lighting ordinance.
So this, I
think we
think I
just
said
skipped.
last time,
We skipped invasive
Okay.
species and Lippman Science Fair.
Well, Lippman Science Fair happens once a year only, right?
Okay.
Yeah, maybe we should put them a month next to that. Invasive species, do we know? These two are going to need to wait until we get the position, until we get more staff to help. That's why there hasn't been a lot of movement on these. But
Okay.
Okay.
do we know who wants to work on the invasive species ordinance? I know this came up about a year ago.
I thought a couple of people had volunteered, but I think we do need a new staff member to do some research, and find some kind of model to work from.
Yeah. So the position's open right now.
Is it posted? What's it posted as?
Sustainability management analyst.
Sustainability management.
I sent it to San Francisco State. I can send it again. I'll do that.
Yeah, that's great. I think we've got, I've not reviewed applications or anything. We've got about 20 so far. I'm not sure all of them have the right background or not.
I'll do it again.
Great.
Lighting ordinance.
And that was the second one that I need some staff help to be able to move that forward.
We have a model for that, though.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if the two subcommittee members want to look at that, they can. Staff is going to have to. That's going to be sensitive, and I think we're going to have to look at the big picture when we draft something to take to council,
Okay.
I do think it's really important. It's been on my hot list for a really long time, long before I sat on this committee. And Crocker Industrial Park, I mean, the light pollution coming out of the central part of that is just really, it's awful.
Yeah.
It really is awful. And there's no reason for it, not at the level that it's at.
There's also some flagrant misuse of lighting in the residential areas, too, that we need to address. People that are just completely oblivious to their neighbors' needs for darkness.
Yeah.
Yep.
It really is bad. It's getting worse. And the more infill housing that we have, especially these huge houses, it really, there's a lot of...
Takes away from the landscape, too.
It really is excessive.
We had looked at when LED streetlights were put in. I'm talking particularly out at Sierra Point, and the city facilities are the streets and the shared use parking lots. We put in some motion sensors out there to try to dim some of the areas, and that's not as impactful to people that live on this side, but they were pretty difficult to maintain. It wasn't really an optimal solution, but there are agencies out there trying to do things that, from an energy perspective, to reduce the amount of light.
Mm-hmm.
And so just the technology is evolving, I think. Glenn has thoughts.
I think part of the reason it's getting so much worse so quickly, though, is that LEDs are pretty cheap to operate, and a lot of the new ones I'm seeing around town over, in the industrial park are LEDs, and apparently they cost next to nothing to operate, and they're really bright.
It's definitely a different feel of light than incandescent or whatever it is, sodium vapor.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. We've heard you. It's high on the list. I just need to get that staff person.
So the next one, open space plan and update request to the city. I am really sorry I missed the subcommittee meeting. I just was like, shoo. So tell me what happened.
To provide I brought my notes so we can do it together. But
Right, yeah, so Michael and I met with Karen and Bob, and we discussed what criteria from the open space plan, the existing plan, can be updated in order to include more acres. And we looked at the acres that are currently adjacent to properties that are already part of the under the protection of the open space plan. So we decided that simply by removing one of the criteria, we pretty much can include sufficient additional number of properties. And I think as next steps, we decided that Karen and Bob will work on pretty much the mapping of the criteria, and that can be shared with the committee.
right. So we talked about the fact that the original plan established, and we're talking specifically about the Brisbane acres, established priority preservation areas. And the thinking, this is what I believe, is that we owned, 6 or 8 or a handful of acres at the time, and wanted to have something structured to go about acquiring acres. And I don't know if people envision that, I would say quickly that we purchased, what did we say the number was? It's
A lot.
40-something properties.
a high number of 40s.
I think 47, but I'm not sure.
Right.
Yeah, acres. So we've gotten to the point, which is what the committee has said, is that we've bought, not all of, but a lot of those acres, and now we should look beyond and see what the criteria were. So the criteria that existed before were contiguous with San Bruno Mountain State and County Park, contains intact native vegetation, contains endangered butterfly habitat, contains permanent or semi-permanent wetlands, forms a portion of a significant water course, and then the last one was adjoins developed parcels on more than one side, being a negative criteria. And the point that the committee made, which is a great point, is if you have to not be next to a developed area to be preserved, well, then that area next to you can then develop. So we just take that criteria out and we can expand the second level of the second priority of areas and add, it's something like 10 more properties also in the upper Brisbane acres, because we went through all of those properties and they all meet a number of these criteria. And the original study was 2. You just had to meet 2 of the criteria.
Mm-hmm. Can we also pursue purchasing the paper streets that exist in the acres? So that would be a effective way of eliminating possibility of development in sensitive areas.
Yeah.
We should ask that in the beginning. We can definitely check into that. So I'm not sure what
Paper Street?
what obstacles might exist.
There's like long areas where streets are between the lots that ultimately would have been streets if they had been developed, but those are owned by someone else other than the lots.
Right.
Do you know if that lot
They're remnant parcels
by the
that
water
are
tank got sold? Or,
I don't know.
yeah.
remnant parcels that are about usually 20 feet wide that are all, like you said, all owned by one person that were assumingly intended to be the rights of way to access the parcels, but not necessarily, there was no subdivision map when that was divided like that, right? It was,
Well, it shows up on maps, so.
well, and I mean, it did not follow the Subdivision Map Act
Right.
and didn't have the proper roadway widths, so there are these remnant parcels that are 20 feet wide. So that's an interesting question. I can check into that. I couldn't speak to that. I'd have to ask the city attorney.
Okay.
So we'll put that matrix together and then we'll just pass it out for review, and it actually should be pretty straightforward. It may not even take the work of a consultant. Kind of look at how, if we want an amendment to this plan, it may help to just have a consultant kind of put it all together for us, and then it will be something that we'll make a recommendation to council about.
Okay. Did you ever get the 2 lots that are missing from the book? Where the page
So,
crossover
since you
is?
missed the meeting and I emailed you back and asked what you were talking about, no, because,
Do you have your book there?
huh?
Do you have your book there? I didn't bring mine. If you notice when you look at the laundry list of lots, you'll see that the one page ends and the next page begins, and there's 2 lots that are missing at the page break.
80 and 81.
Mm-hmm. Yep. 2 parcels.
Are they developed?
No.
Okay. But okay.
They're just not in the book. But they were apparently, I assume they were assessed since they're right in the middle of a lot of the area that is prime habitat.
Well, if they were not assessed, they can be.
Okay. But I think they probably were. I think it was a printing problem
Yeah, perhaps.
since they're right at the page break.
Yeah, I just see this wider outline that seems to indicate developed parcels, so maybe it was a mistake.
They're not developed.
But that's what I'm saying, maybe it was a mistake way back then.
I don't know. But they should be included.
Okay.
Great. So moving on to the next item, the library shelf. Megan?
Oh, we did that last time.
Yep, that's
Nothing,
what
no
covered,
new
right.
update from that. Yeah, we just did it last month, so it's looking pretty good.
Great, yeah. The Kima, the Parkside plan.
I don't think anything's happened. We haven't had any more meetings or whatever.
I think they're talking about the fall, trying to bring that back and get
Okay.
it to a point of finalizing, so.
Yeah, I mean, I was on that because I was the chairperson of the committee, so maybe it might be appropriate to have the chair, or we might want to look at that again if and when it comes up, because I don't think I'm going to be extending my term on the committee after this year. So if that does ramp up again, we'll want to.
Yeah, I think we were, at this point, we're holding it as a placeholder. I don't know if they're needing the committees to comment more, but we're just keeping a representative on the list, and
I can do
should that
that.
happen.
Until.
Great.
Yeah, exactly.
A web page, subcommittee. I don't think we have any updates to the web page.
No, but we'll get together this month.
I updated the webpage recently, and I put the toolkit
Right.
document that you guys had worked on, and I kind of went through and organized it a little bit and put that on the webpage, and then I also put on just a link to the toolkit checkout that the San Mateo County has.
Thank
So Karen and I
Thank
looked
you.
at it, and there's some more revisions. I need to make some outdated stuff. So if you have any new ideas, let me know. But I have updated it in the past couple weeks.
Thanks.
Great, thank you, Bob. And the last one, waste stream.
Yeah, Michael and I have not met on that, but it's definitely been on my mind, especially today there was a huge news story from Ecology about the expense, how the waste stream is shifting because of, they call it the Amazon effect, where so many people are getting so many packages instead of going out and shopping locally. They're ordering everything, and so they have an overload of cardboard and packing materials coming into the waste stream. Yeah, I know. Amazing, huh? And I'm probably part of the problem.
I thought the waste stream was going to get together with PBNR, because I thought we were talking about waste at Mission Blue, which is not sorted. I thought that was the whole point of that.
No, I don't think so. I thought it was about education on reducing the waste.
Yeah, this subcommittee's been around longer, but we do have an update on that when we get to staff.
Okay,
Okay.
sorry, my mistake.
Yeah. No, this was about things like how can we recycle, fabrics? How can we
Right.
just reduce our overall waste stream? And I keep wanting us to, I'd like Ecology to come and present again. I mean, not Ecology. South San Francisco Scavengers come and present again.
Right, once they finish their annual report and have their data for 2016, we're going to have them come, and that's typically in August, so it's kind of penciled in now for August.
Okay, good. And maybe we could ask them specific questions before they come so they could answer them. So we
Yeah.
might, as a group, maybe next month, put out our list of questions, put it on an agenda item of the questions that we have of like, how do we handle this? How do we handle that? Can we have a special community pickup day for certain things? Can we organize that? Like where we'll have a community, almost a garbage fair. I'd like to have a garbage fair. Like how we have the yard waste cleanup day, have a garbage fair where we have stations set around the park where you can come and bring things that don't go in your normal waste stream and, arrange that.
And I think they would probably like to speak to that. I mean, I know that's definitely more convenient, but we do have an existing franchise agreement with them, and they are trying to collect or accept as much as
They've been pretty
is
cool.
acceptable at a bigger level, but it's a different cost for them to come here and get it than it is to have someone bring their paint
Yes.
cans, their mattresses, their...
But if
Carpeting.
we, the city of Brisbane, organized a garbage day like that, or I hate to say it, call it a garbage day, waste stream reduction day or whatever, maybe we could supplement that. I mean, if I knew I could bring all of my like toxic paint or whatever down to the park instead of making the appointment and doing all that other thing, I'd happily pay 10 or 20 bucks. Happily. Like, here, take it away. And, but, so instead it just sits there and it's toxic and the cans rust and then it becomes even more toxic. And so having a community pickup day, I think a lot of people would be willing to contribute or pay or to participate if they know in advance that we're going to have this event.
I think some of the other communities, I saw it on the Daily Cities website, that they did that for Earth Day in April. So they actually had a community pickup location on Earth Day for that. So I think some of the surrounding cities have done that. And
yeah. I mean, Santa Clara used to have a day like that and you could go around and pick up other people's garbage and reuse it.
Spring cleanup, yeah.
Yeah, But in this case, it would be like, let's get rid of, the really bad stuff that we don't want. That other people might want, but I don't think so.
Other committees, members, thoughts on that might be
I think that's a great idea.
enough.
yeah,
Enough.
it's a good idea.
Maybe we do it at Day in the Park. Everybody brings their garbage.
It'd be kind of fun to do it day in the park. But it would detract from day in the park. But
And I might get people down there that
I was just going to say,
Yeah.
it might actually enhance
Bring
it.
more.
I think it'd improve the turnout.
well, that'd be pretty bold. We could set
Have it
up.
off to the side. Maybe, like do it over in the parking lot of the shopping center or something. So it's not right in the park, but
Hey, we could do it on the street where we were last year.
yeah.
But I think it'd be really popular, especially if people knew in advance
Right.
that they could come and bring the stuff.
Yeah, we should do
maybe
it for this.
it'd be more manageable to just have one thing like paint, because if you have hazardous or toxic substances, you need to correctly identify
I
somebody.
think we should talk to them and see, run the idea by them and see
Yeah.
whether they think it would work with multiple things. Because,
Right.
I know I've got some things in my shed that I haven't gotten around to getting rid of. So I bet a lot of people do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got some.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can do batteries, you can do paint, you can do all kind of things. Yeah.
We take batteries here. Oh, you're right.
Well, I've got an old car
Oh,
battery. I mean,
maybe not.
And those are actually very recyclable.
yeah.
Well, this is a great idea for day in the park. So.
Just quickly on paint, I don't know if you're aware of the new paint law that went into effect, the tax. So you can take your paint any participating store. The new tax covers it. It's 5 gallons, I think, a day per person. So I know Benjamin Moore in Daly City. I don't know if the local hardware store,
Lowe's.
but if you look it up online and you can just drop it off. No, you don't have to buy it from there. You don't have to buy anything else. You just drop your paint off at almost majority of paint stores. It's a paint take-back program, and I don't know the exact details of the funding, but it just recently went into effect. And
Wow.
Well, this is great. We should promote it in the Brisbane magazines and newspaper.
Yeah.
What kind of burden does that put on the business owner?
There's a tax, I believe. So now when you buy paint, you're paying a small tax, and then they get reimbursed. I don't know how it works. I just know it does.
Like a
work.
recycling charge or a deposit or something like a
Yeah,
CRC.
Yeah, kind of.
Paint cans.
Is that on our website?
No, it's the first I've heard of it. Bob.
Yeah, that would be great.
Bob is
I've been
going to
using it
provide
like
more
crazy. I had to
updates.
clean out. We did a garage remodel, and so I had lots of paint. And it works great. You just
Bob will provide more technical details for the next.
I'll
meeting.
get more technical details.
Yeah,
but
that's
I've heard
great.
paint come up multiple times, and you don't have to
Yeah.
wait till a day in the park. You can just.
Yeah, but I wouldn't want to put a heavy burden on Brisbane hardware. That wouldn't be fair.
I don't know if you
No, that's what
participate.
Lowe's-
They may not do it. That's what Lowe's is for.
Linda Mar Ace doesn't take it back, so I don't know if Ace Hardware here takes it, but I do know Benjamin Moore, but then you just walk in and say, I've got paint and 5 gallons a person, and I'll get you more details. But just so you know, that's maybe that's something to promote.
Okay.
Could we
Well,
put it on our website?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's going to, once we find
I'll
out.
look into it to
Okay.
details.
What about motor oil?
I didn't have that much in my garage.
As far as motor oil, I think you can take to pretty much any auto parts place if it's in a proper container and they'll recycle it.
Okay.
Great. Okay.
Also,
anything else?
just
I don't know where the hell it
I'm not going to have specifics either, but for some reason I do get emails from California's 75% recycling initiative, and they're doing a lot with, I don't know what they're doing, but they are talk a lot about packaging, and there's definitely a focus on trying to change how stuff's packaged. I don't know how positive that's going to be, but when we get another staff person, maybe I can focus some of their time on looking into what's going on with that, because the state has to reach a goal, and I think cardboard is a big hurdle. for the
It's
state.
becoming a bigger hurdle every day,
Yeah.
the Amazon boxes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see that in my recycling container. It's,
Yeah.
Huh.
large part of it is cardboard.
So we're shifting the burden.
Interesting.
Great. Next item on the agenda, calendar items for 2017. So in month of May, we had the Bike to Work Day.
Yeah, and we have that in staff updates unless someone
Okay.
attended and wants to. This is just a reminder so that if we don't have something on here or there's something particular that we do want to talk about for the month. So if the committee has an update on Bike to Work Day, we can do it now. Or the staff will do it.
Yeah, let's have
Oh, no.
staff do it.
Okay.
We can have staff do it, yeah. Okay, great.
And then any other chair and committee member matters? But I jotted down about the nurseries. We wanted to do the invasive species letter, and we didn't find one on our end.
I could not find the letter. I did look for it.
So it sounds like we'll draft something new.
Yeah.
I did have one, and I was thinking about it on the way here tonight. It sort of popped into my head, and we have a waiting list for people for the community garden, and we don't have funding yet for the additional space at the community garden, etc. And I was thinking, well, there's also a whole lot of people, especially some of the older folks, have yards but don't maintain them, aren't able to anymore, or don't grow. And I'm wondering if we could have a
Adopt a yard.
adopt a yard or a match-up program of people who have yard space and would be willing to have a plot for a person that's on the waiting list for the community garden.
I like it.
And I'm wondering how we could facilitate that as the Open Space and Ecology Committee. And, so I assume that the terms and conditions for the community garden, the person does not pay a fee, or do they pay a fee?
No, I don't recall.
$40 a year? So
That's what it used to be. I don't know what it is.
I don't know what it is now. But, and do they pay for water? No, that's
No.
included.
Included, whatever.
So maybe, we could make some kind of arrangements for people who participate in the program by providing a spot for community garden, that they might get that equivalent amount of a break on their water bill, and for the watering, because they have to provide water to the person using the plot, and just kind of make it, set up rules and make it a more formal program where people could utilize space that's not being utilized and help out with someone else's yard space.
I'm thinking the way to do this might be to talk to, I think it's Nancy Coleman who
Through
does the
Helping Hands?
Brisbane. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it Helping Hands or is it Brisbane Village?
Brisbane Village.
Because the people who would have signed up for that, most of them are older. So
Who signed up for Brisbane Village, but there are younger people too who have space that aren't interested in gardening.
I'm just suggesting that as a place to start because it's an existing network, an existing organization. It'd be a way to reach a lot of people at once.
It would be to use their organization as a conduit of information, but I know that they are also short on volunteers, and maybe if we set up the program, they might want to participate, and others might want to participate too.
I can maybe anticipate concerns about liability.
Mm-hmm.
That being a
That was the only thing I was going
City
about.
program.
Liability in people's homes. And,
Yep.
So
Funny.
I can check on that question, and then maybe we could,
South real quick.
if we can figure out how to
Huh?
not have that be a liability, kind of maybe have a subcommittee try to form up something about how it might work.
Yeah. I was just thinking about it, as I was driving down the hill to come tonight, because I know it's a pain point for people who really want to garden and don't have a space. And it's also a pain point for people who have yards that they just really can't handle or manage or don't have time to do.
That would love to have some fresh vegetables.
Yeah.
That's some out of the box thinking.
I mean, it's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
So, just because Michelle brought up the community garden, just one thing that I want to mention is, and I don't know if this is something that the committee here impacts or whether it's determined by the city, but there are still lots, and it's almost the end of May, that have not been planted, and there are, so to say, flowers in them, but they are really the same wild flowers that are growing on their own outside of the garden. I walked by like a couple of days ago, and there were 6 lots that I counted that have not been planted, and there are just these wild flowers growing in them. So I feel like obviously some people are not working their lots, and that the city should take action and reassign these lots to new people on the list. And whoever these lots belong to currently should go at the end of the list. And if they want to use these lots a few years later when new lots open up, then these people can plant there again. But the lots are not being fully utilized, and I feel like there's just waste of valuable land. And as Megan said, there are a lot of people that want to be growing fresh vegetables, and we shouldn't be growing wild flowers there. Obviously, these flowers are there just because the birds spread some seeds. It's very obvious. They're not even cultivated flowers. They're wild flowers that are growing outside of the fence. So I really feel like, given that it's the end of May, that the city should take action and reassign these lots, and there are at least 6 or more of them.
I'm happy to give Tyler a call, who usually is the guru of the garden. I don't know if he's not, he always knows what's going on, and ask him about those plots and have that discussion. Happy to do that.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah,
At least find out what their thoughts are, because I'm sure they're all sitting here going, the same thing, because they want the garden to grow. I mean,
Right.
that's what it's there
And-
for. So I'll give
yeah.
Tyler a call and find out what about those plots, what are they doing, what's the discussion that their committee has had, because, they have the group that they meet once a month
Right.
or whatnot. So I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, just
Find
to
out.
respond, I guess I did. I think I was on this email, Camellia, with Diane from Public Works, that
Right.
the garden is a nonprofit group of gardeners engaged in the growing of plants for their private use. There were no restrictions imposed on the type of plant or preference for edible versus ornamental when it was originally put together. There's a policies and expectations from 1999.
And I agree with that if people are growing something, but currently there are 6 lots that
Wasn't done.
just have seeds of wild flowers from the birds dropped in them, and that's what's growing. So
Okay, so I was still explaining it. The only additional guidelines we currently impose is that the planting beds remain generally weed-free and the plantings not extend beyond the beds so that they interfere with the activities of others. So, and she said she did pass on your comments to Tyler, so I'm not sure. Maybe Megan could,
I'll give him a call and
See if
find
he
out
has an update.
the scoop.
but I don't know that based on what we just discussed, that the city is going to require someone to vacate their space. I mean, I think it's,
well, I guess what is the criteria to require somebody to vacate their space? If they haven't planted anything there and it's end of May, should that be a requirement, or like how many more months?
I guess if
wait?
you are asking, then the committee can recommend to council to change the policy, but the Public Works Department isn't going to independently do that based on what the policies are that are in place right now.
Okay, but wouldn't this fall under the criteria of the plots or the beds are not being maintained, they're not being worked? If there is nothing planted in them but wild flowers growing there from nature.
I think that needs to be examined on a case-by-case basis, and I think that Megan's approach of talking with Tyler first and finding out the situation for the plots that you are identifying as being unused would be the prudent way to approach it without, and find out what's the situation on the ground.
I agree.
Someone who's been a regular gardener for several years and is currently ill, or has a problem. And we also had a really horrendous winter, and people are just now planting because the
Yeah.
rains are finally over.
Yeah.
And so it's not a normal year when it comes to that. I haven't even planted out some of my stuff yet at home, where normally I would have done years ago.
So to follow on that, yeah, I think the suggestion from staff at this point would be to see if the community itself can regulate this so that the city doesn't have to add a lot more regulation on
Yeah.
something that's kind of a positive to date and maintained by those users largely. This thing has been made possible by the volunteer work of Tyler and everyone that uses the garden. So there's,
Yeah.
yeah, hopefully it could be resolved that way. That would be optimal, I think.
That would be
Because there
optimal.
might be people that we don't know, like you said, somebody might be sick, or
Yeah.
maybe they've moved and nobody's doing anything. But let's at least find out and give the committee a chance, the garden committee a chance to
To self-regulate,
self-regulate.
as they have successfully for almost
Yeah.
20 years.
And then we'll see from there. Maybe if a couple of beds will open up.
Yeah, that would be good.
It'd be
In the
awesome.
meanwhile, let's pursue this idea. Maybe ask Tyler about that too, and get a list of the current rules that would be applicable to a sharing situation like that, and whether.
Because you've got people that want to plant. There might be somebody that just would love somebody to
Right.
go in and help them plant. They can't do
Yeah,
it.
and the other thing too is in terms of liability, we might be able to draft a boilerplate, no fault, no liability kind of agreement that people could, who wanted to participate, could sign to protect both the property owner and the gardener, and that would be the rules. That would be part of the rules.
Quite possibly. I'm not an attorney, so I'm not going to.
No, but we have one.
Do you have
yeah.
can you send me
Karen
a
is
copy of what
saying
you've got already
maybe
for the
liability
garden
issues.
Yeah,
committee?
yeah.
The rules and regs? That would be awesome. Thank you.
Wouldn't it be amazing if we could have the whole town a community garden?
Wouldn't that be nice?
And as you know, this is in an infancy stage, but scratch your head on like whether it would be worked out between those two properties as to the times that someone could come and work in their backyard.
Yeah.
This could be
Chew on.
This could be something that Open Space Committee doesn't need to get involved in. It could be something that's started on Nextdoor if people are interested in doing that, where it's an arrangement between neighbors and doesn't involve the city really in any way. I mean, it's something that can be done. I think I like the
Liability off of
idea.
us. I
Don't
like
get
the
me
idea
wrong.
too. I think I was kind of going to the same place, Glenn, is you just create a community where we're saying, hey, we thought about this, you guys take off on it, and if you have property and you would love to have then let them
Work it out.
Right.
Yeah.
That way we're not involved, but
Yeah.
just with the thought.
I was thinking our involvement would be more like a facilitator / providing a toolkit.
Yeah, I like Michelle's idea. I mean, I don't think the city should be taking any active role, but I think providing like a brochure with a punch list of issues that you would need to consider when making an arrangement with another party would be useful and perhaps help keep citizens from getting themselves in trouble. But I don't think the city would need to take any active legal role
No.
in this process.
But by creating the punch list, don't we take some liability?
Yeah. I don't know.
But the nuance is that the city has rules and regulations. Creating a punch list maybe is a little bit different, but they have the process they put together to develop this community garden, and that's public record. So if I give that to the committee members and they independently post something on Nextdoor, however it's done, that doesn't make the city officially involved, I don't think.
Cool.
So we were still on
Staff up.
chair and committee member matters. If there was anything else,
I don't think so. I think it's time for staff updates.
all right.
There was a workshop on heat pump water heaters I wanted to attend on Tuesday, but I wasn't able to get away from work, so I can't tell you all what the good, interesting things I learned there. I'm afraid to say I'm very disappointed about that, but
Didn't work.
couldn't get away.
All right.
Great.
So Glenn had forwarded a request to OSEC staff and Park and Rec staff or commission members, I'm not sure, after the last event at Mission Blue, the last live at Mission Blue, about the fact that there is food service and there isn't any compost up there and at city facilities.
Or recycling.
Or recycling. So they do have a recycling. You know what? Maybe there's a lot of pieces to this, and that's what I think we had talked about. Maybe there's not good communication between facility attendants and volunteer events, because there is a recycling container on site.
Oh, really?
There's a garbage enclosure. There's an enclosure next to the tennis courts, and there's trash and recycling out there.
But I think people are not collecting it separately. They're not separating it in order to take it to these.
Yeah, so it may just be at
bins.
city-sponsored events that's happening, and that's one piece that has
And
been brought to light and can be improved upon, because so we're working towards getting composting out there by there's a certain amount of recycle grant money that we get each year that can be used to purchase recycling containers, benches made of recycled plastic, anything that uses either recycled plastic like milk jugs or anything that promotes recycling. So we're going to purchase 2 sets like what Bob has shown in the slide for inside of Mission Blue.
Okay.
And then we're going to make sure that bio bags which are not desirable for scavenger, are purchased to collect compost, and now the facilities attendants can, and then once we get those ordered and in place, then we'll have scavenger add a bin. So
I think one other missing piece is that
I wasn't done.
we need to talk to the people. I'm sorry, Karen. Go ahead.
No, tell me, because
I was just going to say that I think one of the missing pieces is that at the concerts anyway, I guess the catering is done by volunteers and the reception after the concert is put together. And I don't know that they even knew that there was a recycling bin available there,
Right,
because
yeah.
it wasn't put back by the table where the food is.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. People mill around with plates full of food, and then they need some place to put their plate right away rather than taking it outside.
right. So that's
right.
I do know that at the concerts, all of the bottles are recycled, the empty
Oh,
bottles.
are they?
Oh, yeah, because I did it for years, and they're all recycled.
on site or take
On site,
away,
there's a bin, and we'd put all the bottles in the recycling bin.
which is stored outside in the back.
It's if you go out the kitchen door and walk around to where you can see the quarry,
Right.
that's where the
The
bins
back.
would be. And so we always recycled all of the bottles, and it was our understanding that the plastic cups and the other materials were garbage, or were considered garbage. They didn't recycle those because there was no facility for having organics versus non-organics there.
So that was the primary point, is that we develop a place to put organics, but what sort of came to light is that everything's not communicated to every user of Mission Blue. So we want to close all those loops. And
Yeah.
Yep.
One other thing, though, I think that we need to be very conscious of is because it's not a household. Does this get picked up weekly?
Yeah, once a week.
Okay.
Okay.
So we do need to make sure that the organics are secured in some way, because even at home we have a real issue with wildlife going after the organic. I can't tell you how many baby raccoons Dan has rescued from the garbage bins around our neighborhood, and so up there it'd be even worse. So we really need to.
Yeah, so there was some talk about there's scavengers developing locking, right? They're piloting the lock, that be also on the compost green.
Yeah, I think it'd be
All
really
parts.
important. And the same thing for what goes in the landfill garbage, because that also will have food residue on it.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Great.
yeah, we're trying to close the loop. We're trying to use Mission Blue as the first place, because the next big one obviously is the community park, but then locating it, there's locating stuff, and then the exterior, exterior or site trash and compost and recycling pickup is different. That's done by either a contractor or it's going to be city staff soon in the future. So then that would make it easier if it's city staff, but connecting the contractor with picking up compost, they don't pick up any compost at this point for the city. Anything that we do is goes straight to scavenger. But scavenger's not picking up our cans on the street and at our facilities.
That needs to happen.
But no, that happens by the city's contractor, who then takes them to one dumpster that scavenger comes and collects once a week. So
it goes under one dumpster. So what's the point? So it needs to be collected
That
separately
link.
and put in 3 dumpsters or whatever.
yeah, and also then educating people. So if you have compost in the park, we put it in place here at City Hall, a year and a half ago, and still seeing plastics in our compost.
Seriously, it's same thing at work.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's like really,
So that's a
Really?
piece too that we want to figure out how to get right.
yeah, we
as
should have
this
these.
grows.
This should do it. I mean, you kind of.
Yeah, these are quite good.
One would think.
You would think.
You would think,
One would
Megan,
think.
but believe me, we had
Yeah.
it blatant in their faces, and it's like, really, you guys?
I don't have much hope for that. But
But we have to
Still gotta
keep.
try.
We have to keep
Still gotta
trying.
try.
And it has,
Absolutely.
we're way better than we used to be, and
Well, and I think everything moves forward, and when the kids from Littman or BES come and do their city hall tour, one of the things we did was like, hey, let's give them a quiz on what goes in, and they knew everything.
Good.
They got everything right. So that's
somebody's teaching.
yeah.
we should have this quiz set up at Day in the Park,
That would be good.
Well,
Yeah, that would be
like
good.
Last year.
That-
and also at
Can
the.
add a
win
box.
some.
Also, we should do it at the Star City Music Festival. Have a setup and
Yeah.
a volunteer,
Any event we do.
that directs people
Right.
where to put what. Because people they really need to learn. We
All
also,
of our events.
Yeah.
Even at the concerts in the park.
yeah,
Hey, people, look, because they're like playing and partying and drinking and,
yeah.
hey, pay attention, consciousness.
The other place that really could use this is the Littman Field / pool area. There's not even a garbage can out in front of the pool. I know, because I started to pick up some litter the other day, and there was no place to put it. So that's another area that really needs some attention, especially during soccer season.
Yeah, simple things like that. Service requests for an outside can could be done on our.
That can be done
requests.
online, right? So,
Yeah.
okay. So Michelle can submit one for the pool.
I've never done one. I
No?
usually just call City Hall and
Easy.
Well, that works too.
Just email Diana or somebody
yeah, okay.
and submit the request. Okay, great ideas. I think Mission Blue definitely needs it because there are so many games and events there, and also seems like the swimming pool needs it as well. So,
And the soccer field.
and the soccer field. So, I guess moving on to the next item, Bike to Work Day. Seems like it was a very successful event this year. Did you go?
Yeah, I normally volunteer over on Lagoon, but this year I decided, just for variety's sake, to volunteer on Bayshore. And first of all, the place on Lagoon the station on Lagoon gets a lot more traffic. So one of the things but it was interesting working in the Bayshore because I got a different perspective and I sort of, learned some things. And a lot of people seem to feel uncomfortable because there's that uncontrolled right-hand turn from Old Country onto Bayshore that cuts right across where the station is. And so I think a lot of bikers didn't really feel very comfortable, or at least some bikers didn't seem to feel comfortable. And some of the people working at the station also felt it was a little more kind of an awkward location. I don't know if that's been expressed at all in the past.
And Park and Rec coordinates that, so I'm not sure
Yeah.
if they've heard that. I hadn't
I
heard
think
that
that's why
before.
it's been every year, right? They always have it in that location.
Are you
Yeah,
talking
so
at
it's been
Old
there.
Bay Shore and Old County Road?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so I was wondering if it would make sense to move it a little further south. That would be something that would have to be taken up with Parks and Rec, as you say.
Where would you?
There's nowhere further south to do it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it could either go to the other side of the bus stop, maybe, or all the way down to San Bruno and Bayshore. It's another possibility. I don't really know what would be better.
Where did you get to?
That's,
poll-
all the other places are even more dangerous.
Did you poll people about where they were going from and to that were?
Yeah, I think we wrote it down on the piece of paper, and I think one of the longest commutes we had was somebody who was coming up from Fremont to work in Sierra Point.
Whoa, that's a long way.
That's a long ways. And we had a couple of people who were going from San Francisco down to like Mountain View.
That's pretty
You
cool.
don't think that big open space there on Bayshore and County is safe? I don't understand.
I think that this year, because they were doing the construction on Old Bay Shore, wasn't there trucks parked there this year?
Yeah, there were trucks parked there this
Oh.
year, and
I think that's probably why why
it's
people
really
felt unsafe.
the uncontrolled people coming off of Old County onto Bayshore. There's that uncontrolled right turn. And people are come pretty fast off of Old County, and they're looking to their left, watching
so they're not
traffic.
paying attention.
Yeah, they're basically not paying attention. They're looking to their left, watching traffic coming down Bayshore, and they're not really paying attention on their right.
Maybe we just have the city put out some event
Cones or
happening,
something.
Cones,
Yeah.
slow, just for
Yeah.
that.
Possibility.
Traffic
That's a good
calming.
idea.
That's such a perfect spot
Notification
for it.
Or
Yeah.
Yeah.
the police,
Good idea.
the ghost car.
Yeah, put the fake car out.
Yeah.
The empty police car.
And also, if the table was set further back off the roadway, where bicycles can really pull in, but that couldn't happen this year because of the construction.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. That's a good thing though. So people, because you're right. You go around that corner and
yeah.
I do the
Right.
same, and we all do.
Yeah, it's just a little awkward location. Pretty much everybody who stops at that station is going further south anyway. So I didn't know if maybe if it potentially made sense to move it south so that it was further away from the other one and away from that intersection.
Yeah, but
There's no-
San
Decision,
Bruno's
it was just a
scary.
thought.
Yeah.
There's no safe place off the roadway there, from there all the way down to South City.
And even if you think about further north, you don't really change.
Yeah.
You have the same.
North wouldn't
whole
be the
thing.
answer,
Issues.
definitely.
Right.
But there's the propane place that's shut down now. So,
I think another
But that's
one's
private
always
property.
becoming in.
Right.
yeah, I suppose it is. I don't think they'd mind.
Is
I
it
don't think
shut
they'd even
down?
notice.
I thought,
Yeah.
I thought there was somebody in there the last time we pulled in.
So, in the interest of time, seems like what might be good is maybe for people to email their suggestions or comments and maybe just send them to Karen, and then they'll be forwarded to Park and Recs, because we wouldn't be able to solve for
Yeah.
it now. And, it's a year from now in terms of planning. So maybe like documenting all comments and suggestions and then forwarding them to the committee that's responsible for planning the event. That will be a good way to capture feedback and for next year.
Don't forget.
I don't
We
know.
don't forget, yeah.
Right. I don't know if it was reported officially, but the count I heard from Park and Rec was 786 bicyclists at Tunnel and Lagoon, and about 100 at Old County Bayshore.
That's very good. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was good numbers.
Yeah.
The other thing is, I think I'm going to work Bayshore again because they need to learn to do. When we did it on Lagoon, volunteers always brought a bunch of baked goods, right? But the Bayshore crowd hasn't gotten on that train, so I need to do that again next year and get them on the cookie train.
Yeah.
The refreshments. Bring
Yeah.
some more refreshments.
So what is SCOOP program? I don't understand that.
We went to a meeting and they were, I just thought I'd share it because they're talking, it's an app and it's just, it's a rideshare app. So kind of like a mix between Uber and carpooling. So you put in where you work, where you live, and then it looks for anywhere in the, in the area. And then once you have where you work, if anyone at your work. And anyway, we just thought we'd share it because, especially at the open space and ecology. I hadn't heard of it before, and a couple of the other counties, we were at a meeting and they had just mentioned that they were, people are starting to use it further down the peninsula. So just thought it'd be a way to spread the word starting with you guys. And if anyone's commuting far to work, it might be worth looking into.
Yeah, commute.org tried this several years ago, but it never really took off. Maybe the what do you call it? The cooperative economy or whatever that is taking
Sharing
off.
economy.
The sharing economy is taking off, so maybe it'll fly this time.
But then I couldn't scream in the car.
You could one time.
Great, so
You
people
can drive and scream at your passengers.
They get really scared.
Great, no, thank you for sharing. It's good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be sure and check it out when I get home, and maybe we'll even post it,
Tell us about Firth Park, Firth Canyon.
Wow.
Yeah, so they definitely removed lots of ivy. So this is looking up from the bottom of the canyon towards Glen Parkway. And this is after you walk in the park and kind of the start of the work. And you can see if you look back to follow the kind of foot of that slope, they have the burlap and they got ivy off of that entire, I guess it's going to be the east side of the canyon. And so this is after they're finished. And then if you kind of get farther back in the canyon, you can see where they left, the native ferns. And I'm not as good with all the plant identification, but all the natives. And then that little close-up was the flowers while they were working, that they had protected some of the native flowers. And, they're really thorough as far as I could tell for identifying and protecting and
And they know their
good
stuff.
But lots of ivy's gone.
Sweet.
And broom.
I have a public comment from Danny Ames, I was talking to him on the phone this weekend, and he was saying what a wonderful job they'd done on Firth Canyon. It looks like they did. He said, he lives up there, he said a lot of trash blows down the canyon, and he was wondering whether a net could be installed. You can see in this picture, you see the guardrail going through. He was wondering whether there could be a net installed, as I understand it, below the guardrail to catch some of the trash and keep it from blowing down in the canyon. And it sounded like an interesting idea to me. I'm not sure how feasible it is.
Right. And he did email the city. I haven't got back to him. Thank you for reminding me. So I talked with, you guys met Keegan Black a couple of months ago when he presented about stormwater. And he said the trash is captured there. They do have a trash capture device at the base of the canyon in that inlet that's there. So for his reporting needs, they do the cache is captured, but it has to be brought down with.
It has to wash down, right?
So in the interim, there's trash that can accumulate on those slopes. So you said he was suggesting a netting. I am going to get back to him and say we want to see watch what the trash impacts are and take records of what's collected out of the trash capture device for kind of one season and see how it looks, because I think there's a little bit of a safety concern with cleaning what accumulates along the netting. So for one, there's personnel that would be needed. You need someone to at some frequency go out and clean what accumulates there. And then is it safe on Glen Parkway to be walking along and doing that? I don't want to just say that we can.
So what if the guardrail barrier was more? You put the net on the road side of the guardrail barrier,
Well,
and so that
I
the
still don't think
garbage
it's safe.
stays on the road and runs down that
I just
part.
think visibility-wise and the narrowness and steepness of that road, it's a little bit of a challenge to clean it up, even if it were on the road side.
Right.
It's not optimal.
Well, it's not optimal, no, but it's better than having it go in the canyon.
Well, that was kind of his take on it, that it was all nice and cleaned up, and then it would get trashy.
Yeah, that would be
Yeah,
icky.
so I was saying that I wanted to take a look at exactly what the problem was. It's the first that we've really.
Yep. So more to the point, can we maybe have this sounds just like, let's
Cleanup
do
day.
another, no, not a cleanup day, a planting day.
So another thing I wanted to report is that we have a certain budget for this. I don't have the final accounting of how much they spent, but they think they spent under budget, so Shelter Belt can plant later on in the winter. But I can report back on how much is available and how much they can actually do. So that's still kind of in the plan, is to have them come and do some planting.
Okay.
Cool.
They should, and I assume we would buy the plants from Sembra,
Yeah,
from
I
Mission
can-
Blue Nursery.
That way, yeah.
So let us know, because we have growing contracts and things like that. But these would need to be shade, obviously the appropriate plant
Yeah.
palette.
Yeah.
So the sooner that if we find out, the sooner we can start growing what's needed, and have it available for the planting.
Right, so for the next meeting, Karen will have an update for us for what amount of funds we have available.
Yeah, I mean.
And maybe they
I would
could make
expect,
a plant, work with Ariel to make a plant recommendations.
Right. Okay, great. So moving on to the next item.
It's the acres. So because we're using the same contractor who is familiar with our sites and our natives and our invasives, they were not able to start on acres vegetation management yet, but they actually said they'd prefer to do it in July because, help me out, some of you guys know that there are some plants that are not concerns are dormant then. Is that there was a preference to do the work in July.
Well, I know
Okay, yeah.
the
Native plants are more dormant the late, if you wait a little bit longer.
yeah, and also the calliope would be done flying. And
Yeah, so they were happy to hear that we didn't need them to start in this fiscal year, that they can start in July and do it later on.
with the wet year we've had, I think that it'll be fine.
Yeah, my garden's definitely about a month behind where it normally is.
So they are working on getting the site activity review permit from the HCP and planning to start in July. I'll keep it posted.
Has the fennel already gone to seed in July though? Maybe not.
Depends on how hot it gets.
That would be like my one concern. But if I'm sure they know what they're doing, and there's more factors,
Right.
more reasons to do it the other way.
The fennel has usually produced seeds by that time, but they're not ripe yet.
Yeah, they're not ripe, so it'll be okay. Great.
That they need to get the site activity review, so it's going to take a
Yeah.
certain amount of time. And now they've scheduled to start in the beginning of July.
Okay.
Sounds great. It's only 1 month away, so
Yeah.
great. So next,
Oh,
I think we.
Yeah, I saw you guys got some.
Yeah, and they emptied some pallets and took them back, and so I don't know if they didn't give us a final count, but that was just that was shortly after we set it up. I went out to look, and I was like, oh, okay, it's being used, and there wasn't enough pallets out there, so it was stacked, pretty high and orderly. They followed directions, and so yeah, everything went smooth, and
Great.
so yeah, I don't know the final count, but just even that picture looks. I mean, there's dozens already, and so it was out for 2 weeks, and that was like day 3.
Are they still taking them?
Very good.
It was till May 15th, but I don't know. I haven't checked. Is it still out there?
I don't know. I'll go look. I got a few bags left.
Great.
All right.
So anybody
If they're
that
not, you let me know. We might be able to.
Okay, cool.
And so what did they do with the
Yeah.
sand? They
I don't know. I mean, but they took it back to the yard, and they're
Okay.
they have at the yard. They do have like a sand pile, and the sand they fill it from. So either a lot of those were in good shape. So maybe they just kept them in for storage in case there's a water main break or whatever. Or I don't know if they would dismantle them if they weren't already ripped, and then.
Yeah.
But I don't know exactly what they did. But
oh, okay.
To anticipate all these questions from the committee, Bob.
yeah, sorry.
All the detail.
sounds good. Great.
But yeah, that's a good idea. And I don't know if anybody anecdotally thinks that looks better that the sandbags that were eyesores to them are picked up, or if
Yeah.
people availed
definitely
themselves.
they are eyesores.
But have people availed themselves?
I still see some of them around town. I don't know if those people are just not clued in or if they actually want to hoard their sandbags.
They procrastinate like me.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but
They may think it's going to rain again.
I don't know.
I think they got the ones from Quarry Road, but those are the cities anyway.
So let's move on because
Yeah,
I really
let's
need to get
Move.
going.
It's already after 8 o'clock,
Okay.
so
Yeah, I mean, we can keep doing this annually and try to refine it and make it better and get the word out.
Awesome, though. Thank you.
Cool.
Yeah.
that's good.
Really good.
Just everybody knows Bay Shore's done. I don't have to say a lot about that. I did follow up on Barbara's comment and do a little bit of a calculation on trucking, but I think I'd said this before about being an agency that does this is encouraging more agencies to do it and maybe more local companies. So that was another reason that we wanted to proceed this way. But Los Angeles, about 380 miles away, so a couple of trailers had to bring equipment up. We cold in place recycled about 2,300 cubic yards. A truck carries 13 cubic yards, so I had 175 trucks, and not knowing exactly where they would take a ground up asphalt, a safe estimate was at the Granite Rock in Redwood City, 29 miles, and taking all that material ended up being 5,000 miles of trucking.
Wow.
So even though they came from LA, I think there was savings.
Good.
It was really
Glad to
cool.
hear
I
that.
loved watching it, actually
Yeah.
being involved and knowing what was going on. It was like, that is so cool.
You know,
California needs to do it on all their highways because
Yeah.
it's a mess out there.
Oh my God, yeah.
It's just,
Well,
they just keep filling holes, and we're like, really?
and you know, it didn't smell as bad as it usually
No,
does,
it
which
didn't
was
smell.
kind of nice.
Well, the cold in place is different. They're not heating. So that was the bottom, the 3 inches of pavement that were there were ground and recycled in place. So they add some cement, they add some water, they add some asphalt emulsion. They place that, compact it, cure it, and they did fog seal and sand it. You probably experienced some of the sand that was on top. And then there was the 2-inch overlay of new asphalt because that material can't be the wearing surface for a long term.
It was very cool.
So you end up with 5 inches of new section when normally you would repair certain potholes and then put 2 inches on top. So we've got a street that, if it has preventative maintenance, an overlay would only last about 20 years, and this should last 30 or more.
Sweet.
So
Great.
Seemed to
That,
go
you
pretty
know,
smoothly,
Very
too.
successful.
Yeah.
Really, really successful.
Very good.
say that in smooth.
I said it seemed to go pretty smoothly, too. It really wasn't.
It did. It was. I'm glad that we lowered speed limits to 25, and that most people abided by that. That helped a lot, and that helps when you have bike facilities, that you're not merging bikes in with cars when you're down to one lane at 45 miles per hour. And generally people followed that. There are some touch and go moments, but most of them were probably in the middle of the day, so it didn't impact the commute too adversely. I think a lot of people did take alternate routes, so went out of town on Old County and avoided the whole thing, so that was helpful too. We did a
Great.
lot to notify people.
The weather was perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the heat to cure the cold in place, the warmer the better. So we were able to move to the next step quickly. If it had been like it is today, it would have been a different project, I think.
Great. Thank you.
So the council did adopt a resolution regarding Wells Fargo, and we are still to finalize a letter for signature and send that out.
Great. Thank you.
Wonderful.
Sanctuarying Wells Fargo.
Thank you, Glenn.
Sure.
Yes, thank you.
This was just an update from our RICAPS working group. They talked about this last month about how the economics part of the tripod and sustainability. I know you guys don't want me to go too deep into this, but we all learned about this PG&E program, and I passed this information on to our economic development director, who's also our chamber president, Mitch Bull, that PG&E has a program for companies that want to come to the area or are thinking about leaving the area because they're financially impacted, that if they meet certain criteria, they can get a 12% reduction in their electrical rates for 5 years, and they have to do 5% energy efficiency upgrades during that time. So it's kind of a keep companies here, we can reduce your bill, but you have to do energy upgrades in exchange. So our economic development director has been clued in about this and is going to use it. As it applies to companies in town. So it's kind of a cool program. There'd been a request about the rules governing committees and commissions in the Brown Act. I've had a couple of questions since we sent this out, and I remembered that we'd gone into it somewhat in more detail with Complete Streets, and it's particularly, this is the city attorney has put out this memo recommendation that when committee members are active on city social media sites, that they not speak about issues that the committee directly is dealing with, because if a quorum does comment on a social media site, that would constitute a meeting that had not been noticed or publicly, well, I guess it is publicly available to the people that are participating in that social media site, but not to people that are not.
Even though we're not a legislative decision maker.
You also fall under this as a citizen policy advisory body.
Yeah.
Yes.
That makes
But does the Brown Act actually cover a citizen advisory committee, or is this a city
Yes,
thing?
it says that right there. But also council-appointed advisory bodies.
right.
Second sentence, second paragraph.
That makes sense. I think this has been the policy now for
Yeah.
several years, right? So we've discussed this before, so nothing has changed.
Does Nextdoor count as a city site?
No.
Okay.
Right, that does not, right. So that means the city's website, as comments are allowed there, Facebook, Twitter, and
Blog.
Instagram, and that's
City blog.
blog comments.
Yeah.
So
But
only-
you can comment on residents of Brisbane because it's not a city site.
Okay.
But like you would not want to comment on the Brisbane Police Department Facebook page, or if
Right.
there was something, or
Well, what it's saying is items that are under this committee's
Right.
purview. So
Right.
if it
I was
were a
just going to
police
say if
issue,
you were on complete streets.
unless it were a crime and not a
Well, yeah.
transportation.
Yeah.
Anyways, and yeah, you threw me off. I had one more point. Not but also that as you're commenting on even a private site, that you're not representing yourself as a member of a committee, and that people may infer that you are representing the position of the entire committee if you did that.
So if you're being snarky on Facebook, residents of Brisbane, don't say, and I'm a member of the Open Space and Ecology Committee.
Or even if you're not being snarky.
And even if you're not being snarky.
And I don't know if there's anything anybody wants to talk particularly about the rules and procedures for committees, but it was just kind of a refresher that was sent out to all the committees and commissions. So I'm going to read it now. I don't know if anybody has a particular issue.
No.
Certainly open to talking about them. And so the last thing is to determine who's going to be the chair and the vice chair going forward for the next.
Oh, yeah, I did have one question that I didn't see here, and I was, as much as I really, really love Mr. Sage here, I was wondering how our staffing process is going, because we're not getting a whole lot of.
You missed that because you weren't here.
I'm sorry. Yes.
And there are 20 applicants, and the job's posted right now, and they're reviewing the applications. And
It closes when we get 100 or on June 5th, whichever comes first.
yeah,
Okay, great.
100.
Awesome.
Applicants, because through CalOps, it doesn't disallow an application because you're not qualified.
Okay.
So some of those don't necessarily meet the criteria right away.
That's a
So
lot of applications to go through.
yeah, the goal would be more like 40 or 50.
20s.
yeah,
Yeah.
but they have to, it's a
Yeah, have
public
to, yeah.
job, so they have to maintain that.
Yeah, so we'll have it takes a little while to get someone hired, but it's moving finally. So
So, as the longest-standing committee member, I nominate Glenn Feldman for chair for this next coming year. She hasn't been chair since I started, just about.
Sounds good. I support that.
Yeah. So,
If
Gosh.
nomination.
she's not feeling overwhelmed, because I know she's got a very, very, very busy life, I would be delighted to have her, because I admire her greatly.
Thank you, Barbara. Concur.
so
It's really up to
you
you.
accept the nomination, Glenn? Say yes.
Sure, but I should probably check out my financial arrangements with the Russians first.
Funny.
Please, your tax returns.
Sí.
I'd be honored to do vice chair.
Would you?
Yeah. I can't nominate myself.
I nominate Barbara for vice chair.
Yeah.
Gladly.
Great. So we can just have one vote for both positions. Can we do that?
That's the wish of the committee, sure.
Okay.
I vote yes.
All in favor?
All in favor? Okay. Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Great. So we have a new chair and vice chair.
All right.
And the next meeting is June 28th.
The first, unfortunately, the first thing I have to say is that I'm probably not going to be here for the next meeting. I'm going on my annual trip, so Barbara will be the chair of the meeting. We'll chair that
You're
meeting.
never going to wrest the
We're
gavel back from
hoping
me.
to have a public works staff member. I think he came a year or two before, Jerry Flanagan, to update us a little bit on how the drought regulations have softened, but what they still are, and what we're doing with those programs and with the water quality information on the website.
Great.
So, look forward to that. Thank you.
I
Great.
have
Adjourn. So the meeting is adjourned at 8:17.
Thank you.
So Barbara, we were talking about the CAP meeting.